So Jazakallah khairan. Welcome everyone um, to this new reading group. So we had reading groups for the past 5 years on not random topic, but diverse topics. And this year or the next 2 years, I maybe will focus on philosophy, both philosophy of science and philosophy of religion. So inshallah, I'm quite excited to start it. But as you said, Fatima, it is also daunting because it's a lot. But inshallah, I so far I find it really interesting. Um, shall we go to a round of introductions, maybe? Fatima, if you can start. You're the first on my screen.
Yes, so I have an academic background of medical science, and I've been studying baseline philosophy and its relation of religion and science for the last couple of years. I'm trying to make sense of it somewhat. Yeah, that's about it.
And Salah, you're next on my screen. All right, no worries. But if you can even write on the chat, what's your background, what's your interest, that would help. In waiting, Bella, go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. So my name is Bela and I am serving as assistant professor of psychology um, at International Open University, and I am also doing my PhD in psychology. And just before we kick off, I think it's a very good idea to start this year with philosophy of religion and Islam, because as much as I read, I really loved it, and I was looking for a very long time to have a very sequential knowledge of these things in my head. So the knowledge was all haphazard. So I really enjoyed it, and I'm like really looking forward to it. Thank you.
Jazakallah. Asad, go ahead. Please, if you can just introduce yourself.
Is it my turn? Assalamu alaikum everyone. Sorry I'm a bit late. My name is Asad. I'm doing my master's in nanotechnology currently. And I first met Dr. Adrian, I think about a year and a half ago. A year ago, I think. Yeah. And through the Burhan Institute, it's been incredible getting to learn about all these different topics and to bring my questions to him almost weekly. Yeah, and it's been a while, but I'm happy to be back. I couldn't finish the reading, but I'm eager to know what you guys think about it as well. And we'll see. Looking forward to the discussion.
Jazakallah khairan. So about the readings, I don't know if you noticed, I try to make short video commentaries of each text.
I watched them, yes. Yeah.
But I don't know if it's worth it or not. So
I do believe it is. I think that I like that you're trying to match the trends of the time by trying to put short form content out there as well, mashallah. I'm really enjoying the ones you're posting about your book. It's part 25 now, I believe, or 26.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm really enjoying those. I feel like they're adding more to just the discussions of the book as well, and they're more than summaries, which I really like.
Okay, Jazakallah. May Allah accept. Subhanallah. No, I mean, so the short videos about these texts, for me, for people who don't have the time to read, maybe they can just watch like a 5 minute commentary on it. That was the idea, but we'll see inshallah if it works.
I definitely think it's a good idea, but I do think that the text shines the most in its subtleties and in its caveats. And I think perhaps if anyone's going to entertain these things, they're probably better off reading the text. But I do think that it's a good starting point, for sure.
And I agree. Enas, if you can introduce yourself, please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
My name is Ines from Egypt. I'm a Quran teacher. I don't know what kind of information you need to know about me, but I'm interested to join. And I think the book has kind of some answers for questions I need to know. So that's why I'm interested to join. If there is anything else you want to add you want me to add, just let me know.
Okay, and Jazakallah khairan. And I'm reading on the chat, Salah, do you, Asad and Salah, know each other by any chance? Because you're both following the same Muhammad Khilan, sorry.
What, really? That's so cool.
So you're both his students. Not
I
really.
love the guy too. That's incredible.
Well, mashallah. No, okay, but anyway, nice to have you here. So if I
Yes.
may start, like I guess text by text. So the first one, again, if I may just summarize Al-Shahrastānī on the position of doubt in the face of faith. So while reading it, I understand the author wants to trace the origin of doubt back to Iblis. And I feel somehow it's trying to accuse Iblis's reasoning, to put the blame on reason, to accuse or to say that reason might lead astray. So I feel that the text is a bit like a warning against reasoning, against philosophy, because I think by philosophy here they mean reasoning or pure reasoning. So I feel that the text is a bit trying to accuse the first one, to accuse, not to accuse, but to say that the faculty of reasoning can lead astray. That's how I understand that first. So I don't know, do you want to discuss one after the other, or it's up to you guys? Do you have the same impression when you read the first text, first of all? Or am I just imagining things?
Wait, just to make sure the question is directed to me because I'm the last person who is talking, or it's a general question for everyone?
Oh no, it's everyone. If you want to say something, please raise the hand so that I can moderate the
Like for the question that you said, like I think like some scholars, I was reading a book about philosophy and not philosophy, it was about aqidah, and the writers, for some reason, he was against philosophy. I don't know why, to be honest, but maybe that's because he was saying that some philosophers, they were using the theories of people from like Greek culture, and they were trying to fit our aqidah with the words or with the thoughts of Greek philosophers. Like, for philosophy, like Aristotle and those, they are kind of the big scholars. Everyone studying philosophy would follow their basics. They put the basics of this science. So, to be honest, I don't have full knowledge about this part, but he was against using philosophy with Islam because we have our own other basics, which is not matching with the basics of Greek culture. So maybe sometimes in our religion we cannot use it. Sometimes we cannot use the reasonings of others.
No,
But we have our own. I'm not sure if my words are clear,
No, I understand. Partially agree. No, I understand, but I think the way the editors of the text classified all these text has a specific order, and he starts with one that refuses philosophy, and the editors end with text that put philosophy even higher than theology or jurisprudence. So I see like a progression across the text of first denying philosophy and then accepting it, justifying it, accepting it, and then giving it value even above everything else. So I see progression in it, but yeah, it starts, I think, quite negatively. Bella, sorry, you had your hand raised. Go ahead.
I think I'd echo what you were saying. So, sometimes when you try to build a case in the favor of something, you start with negating that thing and then you build upon it. So, I would agree with you when you say that the first chapter is dedicated to challenging the use of aql, reasoning. But then, as we see in the later sections, he goes on to deny that. And of course, we live in a day and age when you cannot throw the baby out with the bathwater. You cannot say that we cannot study philosophy with religion anymore, because there are definitely people deep into the water. They are studying psychology in the perspective of Islam, philosophy in the perspective of Islam. So we have to take what is beneficial, more like Imam Ghazali's approach, and reject what's not in line with us. But of course, not reject anything, it's an entirety, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. What I find also interesting in that first text, the author takes the example of Iblis, or traces every doubt or every mistake back to Iblis. And in the story of Iblis, like as the Quran narrates it, I feel that Iblis doesn't see beyond the materiality. Like he sees himself being from fire and sees Adam created from clay. And it stops here. So yes, maybe from his point of view, fire is superior than clay. So he believes himself to be superior. But I feel that judgment, okay, yes, it might be based on arrogance, but it stopped at the materiality. It doesn't see beyond. It doesn't see the potential of Adam, like the angels, actually. So I feel...
But I think Iblis, he had kind of potential also, like I think there is another hadith talking about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Angel Jibreel. Both of them, they were kind of afraid and crying, like they don't want to be in the same situation like Iblis, because he had kind of knowledge and high position. I'm not sure of the accuracy of the hadith, but let's imagine that he had kind of knowledge. So maybe this knowledge, made him kind of arrogant. So even if he knows that material is not, it's not the basic thing to determine if he is like superior, like on Adam alayhi salam or not, he wanted to find some reason, but he knows that it's not the real reason. I'm not sure if he can recognize it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he kicked him out of Jannah, he said, فَمَا يَكُونُ لَكَ أَن تَتَكَبَّرَ فِيهَا. You cannot have arrogance in Jannah. So I think somehow he knows. And also he knows that his reasoning or his reason wasn't accurate, I'm not sure, but I think sometimes we are giving reasons for us, as humans, we are giving reasons, and we are claiming that, oh yeah, you can see, but actually we know that deeply it's not accurate reason. It's just because of kind of desire, kind of something in our heart, kind of arrogance, something that we don't want to accept. So we are just like trying to find a reason to fit it in.
All right.
That's what I believe Iblis did. Iblis was kind of high position. He had kind of knowledge. He knows that mud or fire, like maybe it's not the big deal to make him disobey the command of Allah. Just imagine, angels, they are created out of light, and they didn't follow the same reasons. They didn't say, oh, we are made of light, it's much better than clay, we will not obey the command. That's unfair. They didn't do that. But Iblis, he had something different. He didn't want to obey the command because he didn't want to feel that there is someone over him. Like for me, I believe it's kind of pure arrogance, but he didn't want to accept that he is arrogant in that position, and he didn't want to admit that he made a mistake. So he chose to claim or to find,
to deflect the accusation.
Yeah, to find an excuse for himself, which is not real or which is not reasonable. But he's trying to do so, like he's trying to make it look like reasonable.
Okay. I see, Asad, you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Yes, from the little that I was able to read, I do agree with your assessment, Dr. Adrian, initially, that a lot of the blame is being put squarely on Satan's shoulders, in a sense. And I don't think scapegoated is correct here. But I do think that, because if I really sit down and think about the situation, and I hear what you said, Inas, up until now about, but I do think that it might be tricky to compare Satan's reaction to that of the angels, for example, because then the question of like free volition comes in, and that angels, as far as we understand, seem to be beings that do not really are not made with the capacity to be able to disobey. Even though there are some hadiths that indicate some volition of free will, I think, but I'm not going to cite them now because I can't like tell you the authenticity of them. But at the same time, the question. Sorry, was someone going to speak?
No, go ahead.
No, I'm just listening.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I just heard someone inhale as if they were going to say something, but yeah. But all of that aside, I feel like when I look at the 7 questions that were posed, the 7 monologues or whatever you would like to call them, I feel like those questions seem kind of like I feel like I could have those questions if I sat down and if I looked at the situation. I think they're natural questions, and so like I wonder if I agree with the author's assertion that all doubts are placed in our hearts by Satan. I wonder, because I think that one of the elements of one of the prerequisites for free inquiry is doubt. I feel like you cannot necessarily have free inquiry without doubt. But again, these questions are not bad, and I feel like the Quran resolves them in its own way. So it doesn't necessarily give you all the time logical rational arguments every single time, but it does point to, for example, like you were saying, how arrogance can muddy your rationale, or how it can cause you to deflect or willfully misinterpret at times, or so on and so forth. I
Okay,
haven't
so-
done a lot. Sorry.
Maybe before, Anas, before you reply to Asad, Fatima, you have your hand raised.
Yes. What I would want to say is that if some knowledge that you are gaining, it's not making you humble, then it's very problematic. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can select or appoint anyone as per his will, which he did when he created Adam over Iblis. And Iblis was unwilling to submit to Allah's selection. Due to his arrogance, he thought, he's much more at a much superior level than Adam. And same goes for us, like in the world that the day and age we are living in, with gaining knowledge about the cosmos, using science and everything, excelling at everything, the purpose seems, we need to figure out, is the purpose to know or get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or are we trying to, control the physical world somehow and claim some sort of superiority of it, or, some sort of trying to be in parallel with the creator, sort of a thing that, we don't need him, or we can exist. There is no need of the creator because we have control of everything. So that sort of arrogance and that sort of holdover knowledge is problematic, I feel.
Yeah, I think like that's a good point for me. Like we had that kind of discussion. Like some scientists, they have the knowledge, and when they have knowledge, they claim that, oh, we are strong, we don't need God. Or those who are like following God, they don't know a lot. Sometimes knowledge can lead the person to be arrogant, and other times knowledge can lead the person to become more close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So like here for this point, I think there is kind of root, like, sometimes you are trying to be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because you already know about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Oh, during our discussion, Dr. Adrian, I think like I had the same question. Like sometimes some people, they are learning, they are trying to have knowledge, but finally they don't go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they go away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I think we said that revelation is the source to know about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then you can find more through science. So I think that's kind of answer for your point, Fatima, like knowledge that Iblis had, like I think it should lead him, logically it should lead him to Allah, to make him close to Allah. Like he knows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he knows best, he knows more about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he knew a lot about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and instead of like obeying the command and reasonably Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows more than him. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us to do something, we have to obey the command, even if we don't understand fully what is the reason behind. But Iblis didn't do. And sometimes we are following the same strategy of Iblis. You know, sometimes in our life, I feel like I'm doing the same thing, which is a mistake, which is wrong. Like I'm trying to say, oh, why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did this? I don't feel like it's correct. I need to find more why Allah did this to be able to do it, which is completely incorrect. That's not something good, you know. Like some commands, like you have to obey the command even if you don't understand the command completely, or you don't even understand it.
Like the angels who prostrate even though they didn't understand the creation of Adam.
Exactly, because they know Allah. And here it comes to the next point. Angels, maybe they don't have the freedom to choose, but you can see that they asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why did you create Adam alayhi salam? Sorry, humans in general. Why would you create a human or Khalifa or Caliph, while they would destroy the earth? They said that تجعل فيها ما يفسد فيها ويسفك الدماء. Like, why would you create humans or creatures who would spoil it, who would destroy it, who would spoil blood and kill each other or something like that? So they are asking. I don't know why they are asking. Like, what they like? For sure, they are not judging Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No one can judge Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Maybe they wanted to know, but at least they can ask. If they are in the same situation like Iblis, they can ask why you are commanding us to bow down to Adam while he's created from clay and we are created out of light. We cannot do so. But the question itself, it's not nonsense for me. Like, why would you judge Allah while you know He knows more than you, while you know He knows best for you? He is commanding you to do something. You don't know why, but for sure He is choosing the best for you. So
okay, Asad, go ahead. I'll speak later.
You could go ahead. I truly don't mind.
No. I was minding before when you were talking, Inas, because it reminded me one of the texts later on from Ibn Tufayl, who describes the majority of humans as destroying each other for the trash of this world. And I'm just, I always find it funny how direct these scholars are sometimes. But anyway, yeah, it's a tangent. Asad, go ahead.
So exactly, but then what you're saying, Inas, you're talking about what our response to the questioning must be, but I think it's a very valid point that you pointed out also that the angels asked. And so it brings me straight back to the same question where I don't know if maybe the author means something different by doubt. Maybe he means something different as to what I perceive doubt to be. I think that doubt is the state of not knowing or not being certain about certain conclusions because perhaps you cannot be, or facing something you know that you won't necessarily have the answer to. And the fact that the angels asked him, this is it. Can I please continue?
Interruption.
Yeah, but What you point out is
I was
brilliant
just
because
like,
Sorry, did you finish, Asad?
oh, sorry.
not yet.
So please, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
take your
but
time.
again, it's a really good assertion that the fact that the angels had questions too, and the response dictates which side you sort of fall on. Because I think these questions, for example, even the first question that Satan allegedly asked, is that before creating me, God knew what would generate and come into existence from me. So why did he create me in the first place? What is the wisdom behind my creation? This is an incredibly natural question that follows the conception of an all-knowing or all-powerful, all-wise, all-beneficent creator. But then the Quran continues to address this as it leads you forward through all of these things and talks about how God is wise, how God has love for creation, giving you examples and stories and helping you internalize them. And then the challenge of the Quran is to then put your faith in God and to live your life accordingly and see how it goes and to look at his signs. And then therefore it ends up being a whole holistic thing. But the question itself, I feel like, is not bad. I don't. It follows. Okay, please.
So in a way, I feel it bad because Iblis believed. He was convinced that Allah exists and Allah is great. Like he knew about Allah's attributes.
So he questioned despite his knowledge. In spite of his belief.
For me, Iblis was talking to Allah. Like when you read in the Quran that Allah asked them to prostrate, he addresses himself to Iblis directly. So that's a privilege. Like you cannot deny the one who talks to you.
No, then that speaks of an incredible degree of arrogance, of a seething hatred almost, and maybe truly it is an attempt to use logic to appeal to baser instincts.
It's like I would totally agree for these doubts if they originate from someone who's not sure if God exists or what he should believe in and so on. But for the case of Iblis, I think it's a bit different at a different level.
And sometimes I have trouble wrapping my head around the scope of it all. Like the fact that an entity knows God that intimately, but then there's also a reason why it has been broadcast so significantly also.
True.
It seems to be such an incredibly profound event, at least within the scope of humanity and its relationship to God. And that's why it's front and center to even the origin of man. And I think it's highlighted again and again for its significance and its consequence. Maybe.
Oh, no. Then I have Fatima Inas Dembela. Fatima, please go ahead.
That is an excellent point made by Asad, and it just makes me think that you could be at such a high level, that you are conversing directly with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Iblis was at that level, yet after reaching that level you could be brought to the lowest of the lowest levels just because of that arrogance you have. Because probably to reach that level he had knowledge, and probably his ibadah level was so high, probably much more advanced than what we can achieve as humans, but yet his arrogance let him down.
SubhanAllah, yes. And I remember reading somewhere that there's no space, no place on earth or heavens that he didn't prostrate on. And still, he could be arrogant. Anna, Inas, you had your hand raised.
Okay, so I have two questions. Like Asad, he said that Iblis he had kind of doubts. So here, what kind of doubt he was doubted, like about what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about the accuracy, or about the should I obey the command of Allah or not, or is it accurate, or is it something good to follow the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without judging? Should I judge Allah? I don't know. I just need to know more details about what kind of questions that may come to his mind to make him disobey the command of Allah. And the second question is for Fatima, she said like arrogance can lead you to lose everything, even if you are the best. So what is the definition of arrogance? What is the arrogance? What is the thing that can lead someone from being in the highest positions to become in the lowest positions? Like, yeah, he had arrogance. So what is that thing that he had? Do I have it? How to avoid it? That's what I need from the story. Like, I know I need to know the story, but I need to avoid what the mistake that he made. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He could do. Adam alayhi salam, he made a mistake. But directly he went to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he admitted that I made a mistake and I need forgiveness. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgave him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most forgiving. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most forgiving, why he didn't forgive Iblis? Why he didn't forgive Iblis and Iblis? Like, why he didn't ask for forgiveness if he knows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would forgive him? I think he knew that point about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most forgiving. So those are the two questions for me.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, so for the question the doubt he had, Iblis, it's in the text. But these are Christian sources, so I don't know about the authenticity. But you raised the other question you raised are good. Yep, I don't know. Bella, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll probably endorse what Fatima is saying, that the text ahead is also very interesting. So we'll, so very quickly, I'll summarize. I agree with what Asad was saying, and I'll probably summarize saying that somebody's proximity does not necessarily mean that you understand that somebody or their obedience, right? So Shaitan was in close proximity with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there was no place on the arsh that he didn't do the sajda on, and so on and so forth. But that also shows that once, as Fatima said, arrogance comes in, it can just sabotage your relationship completely. That's one thing. Second thing is that, see, questioning per se or doubting per se is not bad, right? So we learn in Quran that Ibrahim alayhi salam also had question for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that how are you going to resurrect the dead? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, aren't you satisfied? Do you doubt it? So that no, so that my heart finds contentment. And as Allah showed, his heart ended up finding contentment. So doubt in and of itself, or question in and of itself, is not problematic. What we do as a result of that question or clarification of that doubt, that is probably more important. And I really want to, honestly, as Fatima said, that Ashari and Mu'tazila, very good text ahead. So it would be good to keep pushing ourselves to the next text.
Inshallah. Asad, go ahead.
Oh, I'm very happy to if we need to move on and discuss more texts within the same session, please, because I could keep talking about this, and I don't think that my contributions would be nearly as valid as the next part. So, yes.
No, mashallah. Inhas, do you agree to move to the next text? Inhas, go ahead.
My mic is muted. Sorry. It's okay for me, but I was just quick note for Bella. I think I'm pronouncing the name correctly. For Ibrahim alayhi salam, he was not asking out of doubt. He was asking out of curiosity. He wants to know, which is like now for us, like we are having kind of experiments like in labs. Sometimes you are not like, you can see the phenomena in front of you and you want to study it. You want how it's going on. Well, you cannot say, oh, like it's not happening. The same thing for Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ibrahim alayhi salam, he didn't say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot resurrect the dead creatures, but he was inquiring how it's happening, which is different. So I don't think like it's kind of doubt, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he asked him directly, أَوَلَمْ تُؤْمِنْ, didn't you believe? So he said, Bala. Like, so he did believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he did believe in the ability of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he can resurrect the dead, but he was like, that's kind of, I'm not sure, but maybe he was curious to know how it's going on.
I believe it was curiosity, and maybe just to come back on this idea of proximity, because I see it on the chat again. I feel sometimes that proximity makes you actually arrogant. It's like if you have a teacher and you're really close to the teacher, you start losing the respect toward the teacher. That's how I feel sometimes. So but again, this idea will come back in the later text. So I'm happy to jump to the Ashʿarī. So the next text is about Ashʿarī on Kalām, justification of Kalām. And Ashʿarī proposes three. So Kalām for him, it's a type of philosophy. That's how I understand it. Of using reason, pure reason, to debate, to discuss things that the Quran, the Prophet ﷺ, were not explicit about. So that's how I understand Kalām. And Ashʿarī tries to justify dealing with Kalām against the accusation that Kalām is something deviant. It's something new. Again, the Prophet ﷺ or the companion didn't discuss these topics. So why should you? That's the accusation. And he comes and said, yeah, but these questions are now here in society. You have to deal with them. You cannot forbid it because the Prophet ﷺ didn't forbid it. And if someone comes and asks you, you have to provide an answer. Otherwise, that person will go astray. So that's how I understand that text. What do you think of Ashʿarī? Anyone wants to jump in? So until someone raised their hand, I keep talking. But I see that accusation against Kalām, I can see the same today. Whenever you start reading the text in light of modern science, for example, some people will be quick to say that, no, this is innovation, you shouldn't do this. You should stick to the reading of the classical scholars. And I stop here. Bella, go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to stop you, but just I think that the first answer that has been discussed in the text was my favorite. As you said that, it's an innovation, right? So something to that effect that if Kalām people are deviant because they're engaging in Kalām because Prophet ﷺ never did it, and hence it's an innovation, then the response to that has been given is very interesting. The Prophet ﷺ never called these people deviant. So if you are calling these people deviant, that's an innovation in and of itself. Is it making sense? So I really enjoyed the first response to that.
True. And I believe Anas, you had your hand raised. Mistake.
Oh yeah, like that was for the part of Ashʿarī. Like that's a general point for me, not specified for Kalām or philosophy or this point, but for me, I believe like I don't follow the Ashʿarī point of view because they are trying to apply reasons for the rulings of the religion, and I don't follow it because sometimes you may think that you are improving the rulings, but it's not accurate to do it. For example, in some ahkam, some rulings, that some stuff that we have to follow, you cannot modify it, you cannot change it just because you think that it's more suitable for nowadays, and it doesn't. It wasn't there at the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's okay. Like for me, for the first time when I heard about it, I was saying, yeah, I feel like the school of Ashʿarī, they were following kind of something logical. Like, yeah, you have to think of what you are doing. You have to think of the what's halal and what's haram, if it's suitable for you right now. But after a while, I started to think, but wait, most of the religions, when it has been deviated, it came because some humans tried to change, and slight changes over time would change the whole religion. So when you try to think about the rulings of the religion reasonably, sometimes you don't understand aslan why it's going like this. Like Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he commanded that the men could marry for like women, for us as a woman, that's not something good, you know. So if I'm a woman, if I choose to reasonably put the rule or change the rule to fit, it's going to be like, oh no, you can just marry one. Like it's only one. I will put the law to prevent men from getting married for women. So if we apply the same thing for everything else, if I change the rulings of the religion according to my desires, so I'm not making it better. I'm not modifying it with our time, but I'm changing the religion and I'm changing what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said because I didn't know the reason behind it, why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did it like this, why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it like this. Maybe
So
the
here-
example is not so accurate, but yani, it's giving like general core. Like sometimes we don't understand. We cannot use reasons for all the rulings
So
because
the way
we
I
have
understand it here, it's not so much innovating in matters of what the Prophet already declared. It's discussing things that the Prophet ﷺ didn't talk about. So like for marriage, it's legislated in the Quran. But I believe Ashari here refers to topics that are not explicitly discussed in the Quran. That's what I believe he refers by Kalām. Like he mentions
yeah, that's what I believe
topics
at the beginning
topics
also.
of emotions, topics of bringing contraries together, which are not explicit in the Quran. Go ahead, sorry.
Oh yeah, that's what I believed at the beginning. But when I went through more details about this point, I found some stuff which is like I cannot remember them right now. It's a very long time ago. So I found that they are trying to change some stuff that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like clearly he did it, but they said, oh, that's because that time at his time it's different. They were living like there is no technology, مثلا, there is no cars, there is no whatever. So they are trying to put the reason behind changing the rulings to like different times. They are claiming that we are changing it because it's different time and we have different culture, different traditions, we have different surroundings, we have like different circumstances that you have to like adapt. You have to adapt with that. But actually, I believe you have to follow your religion wherever you are. And sometimes you will adapt, but not by changing the rules of the religion. You would adapt by changing your environment to follow those rules. And that's why you have the rules.
If I may, Fatima, you have your hand raised. Do you want to reply
Yes,
to it?
what I understood from the text with respect to Ashari and the Mutazilites, I think two names were mentioned. I can't recall the name, something with an M. I think their inclination was more towards rationality over divine text, I believe, or religious revelation, so to speak. But I believe that it's not all black and white. I mean, if we speak about the current times, uh, the younger generation, I think, till probably our generation, we were very submissive and we were accepting of the general belief system that was passed down to us from the generations before us. But now there are so many challenges, so many questions that are being asked that you have to be able to be able to address them. You need to uh, get an understanding from a more probably philosophical aspect, I would say. Otherwise, you're going to be detaching from the younger lot, and there's going to be a lot of distance between them. So if we continue to look at the text, I think after Ashari and Mutazilites, Ghazali comes into action, and he provides that much needed balanced approach, I believe, from what I read, that you have to take both, you have to maintain a balance in both the approaches, and not solely inclined towards your rational approach, because just as I was mentioning earlier as well, because the rationality that you try to find in religion, is it to control or overcome it, and to claim yourself to be not in need of that divine presence, or I think it was mentioned somewhere that if you can rationally prove everything, then what was the need of the prophet at all? So yeah, I think it's a very, I mean, it's not black and white, so to speak. It's a very gray area.
Asad, please go ahead.
Oh, I love that explanation. I love that, like, the balance for sure, definitely. But then I think what I was going to say might have skipped my mind. Wait, it'll come back to me, I think. Yes. So one point that I saw for the Mu'tazila was their incessant pursuit of causality, or like their incessant pursuit of needing to find a reason for a reason for a reason for a reason, and eventually, like. And speaking just to Fatma's point about perhaps younger Muslims being affected by this, and just in general younger people being affected by this, I was talking to a psychology student recently, and he's less of a student. He graduated, and he's currently pursuing a career in psychology. And he was convinced that if he could get the best VR system ever created, he could simulate everything that a human would need to produce certain responses. To me, that sounds ridiculous. To me, and I think it truly is in many more ways than one. And I'm sure Bela would agree with me. Exactly, psychology experts in delusions, but then I think this delusion is so prevalent, and so, because ultimately when I talked to him, and then I pushed him a bit further with my rudimentary knowledge of psychology, we decided that yes, if you climb high enough in any field, ultimately it becomes a game of convictions. It becomes the metaphysics that you take along with your pursuit of data. And I feel like what I truly appreciate about the Quran and about how Allah Ta'ala addresses humans is we are told to question our assumptions. We are told to question our capability. We are told at every turn to recognize ourselves for what we are. And I think that maybe is what we lose. In sight of trying to understand the wisdom of the Creator, the design of the universe, of all of these greater things, I feel like we have such a strong tendency to get lost in these, into the English phrases to play God, where these people are like, yes, we're going to do these certain things or colonize certain planets in a certain way, and there's nothing stopping us at all. I think it is only the incessant pursuit of rationality and causality. And Muhammad Ghilan, again, he likes calling it a worship of the intellect, and he's not going to credit himself with that, but I do think that is a symptom of our time. Sorry?
To call it what?
Worshipping the intellect. He seems to be convinced that, and again, I don't think he would enjoy me quoting him either. I don't think he wants to be a quotable person as such. He just likes to investigate the concepts and disseminate them as best he can. But I would tend to agree that intellect is the ideal that we worship now, our own intellects, while recognizing that they're fallible and limited. And I think that this...
I believe, I agree. And I remember someone saying, like, when you quote Descartes saying, I think, therefore I am, that's the peak of arrogance. It's like the peak of humanism. Like, you believe that you yourself, or you put yourself at the place of God when you say that. That's what one interpretation I've read. That stems directly from the Enlightenment, this idea of that human is superior than everything, to the point where you don't even need God anymore.
Yes, I wonder, I haven't thought about it like that, but then even, for example, we understand confirmation bias, right? And I hope Bela can please comment on this as well. But confirmation bias is like when you see something or when something is made apparent to you and you start seeing it everywhere. And people are very happy to pin down the vast majority of our experience, because we know we're not rational creatures per se. But even then, the definition of rational, like if you think the only rational being is a computer that operates in binary, then of course nothing else would be rational. But let's take the assumption that we're not rational beings. People are happy to pin down most of our lives to something as simple as confirmation bias, arguing that it is so profound and so ubiquitous that we can't ever escape it. But then if it's such a part of the human condition, why not run with it? Why not like keep it close and utilize it? And that's what I feel like the Quran does. It takes the best parts of us and forces us to confront the worst parts of us, and then guides us to a better way. I hope. again, I'm in no position to like comment on the aims of the Quran as such, but I would love to hear everyone's thoughts on this, and I hope I didn't take too much away from the reading.
Oh, Jazakallah khairan. I have Bella, Fatima, then Inas again. So I mean, I say again because I don't hear Salah now, Khada. But Bella, go ahead.
So I'm just going to comment a little bit on what Asad said, and then I'll move on to my own comment. So yes, the last point. See, Islam does not ask us to shut off our rationality, because there's so much that the human brain has to offer, and Quran just appropriates it. It just directs it, which is very good. And I'm still sticking to the text. I'm sure that that would be perhaps a good idea to do. Wallahu alam. But so if you're still talking about Ash'arīs, the second answer or the second comment that is brought into the text is very important. And although I do not identify myself as an Ash'arī at all, but wherever they are right, I think the credit should be given. Like the second answer, it says Quran and Sunnah already contains the foundation. So they are not reinventing the foundations, or they are not challenging the foundations. There's the examples that are given: God's oneness, resurrection. These things are already there. But where there is a need of rational argument based on Quran, they do that. Like God is not like creation. So Quran itself uses rational arguments. That is the argument. And Kalām, they're arguing, the text is arguing that Kalām simply explains those arguments in detail, not negating, not innovating, so on and so forth. So again, this is not my opinion. This is what the text is saying.
I agree, but in a way, I realized by reading that second answer, that second argument, how much Ash'arī was influenced by Greek thought and Greek questions.
They were absolutely not to take away from the fact they were. Or the whole, the atomization and what's the occasionalism and all of that. I think that is primarily coming from the Greeks as well.
Yeah, so for me it was funny to say that what drive Kalām or the development of Kalām were questions from the Greek culture mostly, at least at the beginning. So I found it really interesting. Sorry, Fatima, you're next. Go ahead.
So within the same text where this rationality is being discussed, the counter argument in the book was that the masses or the normal people won't be able to develop that sort of an understanding or maintain that sort of a rationalistic approach towards validation of the religious beliefs on their own, maybe due to lack of knowledge or the intelligence, or simply they just don't have the time to verify everything or adopt a rationalistic approach towards it. So with keeping this in mind, and with respect to the masses, especially from the part of the world where I'm coming from, I would want Bela's comment on it from a psychological perspective of humans, where knowledge can be instilled in them and can be manipulated, and they can be manipulated into seeing and believing things as they might not even be. And within that manipulation, it might seem to be as rational as something right in front of you, even though that might not be as it is, which is what is happening, I believe, in this day and age, the sort of data manipulation that we are going through. So things might seem rational, but they might not just be as straightforward as they seem to be.
Yes. Inas, please go ahead.
Okay, so like my point may be a little bit far, but regarding the Jews in Surah Al-Baqarah, they said we hear and we disobey, and for Muslims they said we hear and we obey at the end of the surah. And like, what is the difference? Like, why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala favor the Muslims, even though the verse came when the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was difficult to apply? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala later, he lifted that command. It has changed. And also for the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he was about to kill his son, when I'm teaching my students about this story, it's like very hard to tell them Allah commanded Ibrahim alayhi salam to slaughter his son. They are like, Allah, he commanded, like, why? And also, like for the story of Al-Khidr and Musa alayhi salam, like he killed the son, he killed the kid already, and that was bitter for the kid and for his parents. So if you look to the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sometimes you will not be able to submit to the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because literally you cannot understand it, and like as you can see it, it's incorrect. So sometimes you have to submit to the command even if you don't understand it. That's what I am saying. Al-Ashʿarī, they like it's I think like there is an answer here in the chat. He is saying that Salafi or like Al-Ashʿarī, they are making use of logic and metaphysics. The problem, it's not with using logic and metaphysics, you can use it in general, but the problem it's to use them with the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's to use them with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded you to do. And we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sometimes He is giving the commands just for you, you have to submit it to the command. Even if you don't understand, even if you don't know why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding us to do that. And also you have to, like, how to say it? You have to follow the command, even if it's not matching with logic or it's not matching with the different sciences, like in general. So that's what I'm saying. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He preferred He preferred the response of Muslims when they said, okay, we obey the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He didn't like the response of Jews when they said, oh, they hear it and we disobey the command. We don't believe that this is available for us. We will not do it. So, like, I'm trying to link, yani, we are talking about reasons. And sometimes we will not be able to find the reason. We will not be able to see it. So when should I know? Like, when should I use logic?
When we go to Ghazālī, he tries to provide an answer to that question. It's like when you're facing a conflict between reason and the command, the revelation, then what do you do? So it will come up, inshallah. Fatima, go ahead.
Yes, I think although this point is slightly deviating from the text, but given that Ghazālī is talking about that balance, and what Enes was just saying is that, as I said earlier as well, this may have worked in the past, but in this day and age, why are you and I sitting here, with our kids asking us all sorts of questions? Why are we trying to, study religion and science together? Why is there a disconnect with the new generation? I for sure know that many kids around me are not just going to follow something just because they have to believe it. It's not working like that anymore. So I think we need to step up with respect to that as well. Probably that's why we are lagging behind in the last 100 or 200 years or so, because we have put that barrier on ourselves to, step out of that comfort zone or to sort of challenge ourselves to grow a little bit. But of course, as I said, it's not as black and white as it might sound. We have to ensure that we keep a balance on both sides.
Yes. I agree. I agree from a historical perspective. The state of the Muslim today, I would blame, of course, colonization. But then, as a response to colonization, I think it's easy to just grasp on what's left and try to not change it. Like you stick with classical text and you try to don't depart from it because it worked for so many, like hundreds of years. You hope it will still help you survive through colonization. That's a digression. Bella, please go ahead.
So probably the third point that has been brought in the text is the continuation of Fatima saying that, see, in Prophet's time, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a lot of philosophical questions never arise in the first place in their technical form per se, right? So when new issues arise, scholars must respond. Why not? That's one thing, and the example that is given is also very appropriate, like ijtihad. Ijtihad is all about using your reasoning. So if I'm flying in an aeroplane and it's Fajr time and I'm at the top of the sky. What time should I be praying Fajr? Who's going to tell me? So ijtihad is all about using your rational senses to be able to make sense of what fiqh needs to be innovated, for the lack of a better word, in this day and age, applied in this day and age. That would be a better word to use, I guess. So yeah, and then they're, for the most part, they're trying to go back to what Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, or what the companions are saying. So yeah, new day and age and new issues have to be responded in this term that human beings understand, right? So AI, let's very quickly, artificial intelligence. What is the fiqh around it? How much should I use it? How much should I not use it? What is the ethical boundaries, so on and so forth. So ulama, scholars, they have to sit together, they have to have a conversation around it, and then build. So this is I'm really sorry, but this is one of the very extreme reaction from some of the scholarship to completely reject AI as fitna, as So again, throwing the baby out with the bathwater. We have to engage with it, of course, without it attaching our heart to it, and we have to have the fiqh of attaching or indulging in these things in a way that saves our akhirah. If that makes sense.
Asad, please go ahead.
No, very true. I couldn't agree more with Bela. I am very curious as to what Imam Ghazālī said, because again, I haven't read the text, and I don't know if we moved on to discussing that already, or.
So the next text is from Ibn al-Malāḥimī, sorry, and so for that next text on Ibn al-Malāḥimī, I believe he's trying to discuss the responsibilities of everyone. And in the sense that if you have the intellect to reason and to ponder on the creation of Allah, then you should do so. If you don't, it's okay to follow, to imitate, or to follow a scholar, to follow a teacher, a leader. But then he's trying then to make a distinction between blind imitation and justified imitation. So blind imitation is just following because, like you follow the king, whatever he says, even if he's not knowledgeable about the topic. That's a blind imitation. The justified imitation is like a scholar, the credential the scholar has, and because of this credential, you accept to follow his opinion. That becomes justified opinion. That's what I believe that the text tries to argue for at the end. And then it's Ghazālī's text. So I don't know if we want to discuss Al-Malāḥimī.
I just have one question, because I find it's very often scholars talk about how it isn't the responsibility of every believer to indulge in or to engage with these philosophical concepts or these precepts. But I feel like the introduction of the text is very interesting, how it talked about the relationship between philosophy and religion, and not just in terms of philosophical precepts being at odds with religion sometimes, or vice versa, but also the relationship between religion and philosophical endeavor, and how they influence, and how religion has influenced the latter.
So the way I see the classification from that author, he still puts revelation on top, but then he still says that through the investigation of the natural world, you should be able to end up with religious knowledge. Like you should be able to learn from the world to get religious knowledge as well. Revelation will give you the best, but investigation of the natural world should also lead to knowledge of religious knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. And in that sense, I feel like I hope to be more optimistic about what we are happy to term the general populace, because I feel like without that sort of understanding, it becomes very difficult to truly appreciate the Quran, or to truly appreciate Islam for what it is. And while practice may be good, and while observing hikmah and observing the things that are necessary is very nice, I wonder if it would be easier for people to do so if they had access to those things, or if they had an appreciation for those things. I wonder, and maybe it points to this, it's another symptom of what Fatma was also pointing out, whereby perhaps we need to rise as a collective to try and, to the best of our possibility, raise our threshold of abstraction and thinking, at least in the ways that would get us closer to Quran. Perhaps not necessarily in the foggy world of abstract philosophical precepts and I don't know, particulars and the way that Greek philosophy pins the world. I don't know. I've never been able to wrap my head around it properly. But I don't know. Is what I'm trying to say making some sort of sense?
Yes.
I
can read through the yes, but then you still have to be ready to be accused of innovation, like the first text. As long as your skin is tough enough, it's okay. Bella, please go ahead.
So first up, Assalamu alaikum, Amina. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. So very quickly, I thought that we should give at least some time to al-Malāḥimī because like extremely hardcore Mu'tazila that he is, talking in favor of aql in a very intense or like in a somewhat destructive way as well. So I really like the way it has been summarized in the text, the various invalidities that he discusses and goes on to counter. But yeah, it's like mind-boggling at some places where he's arguing that true faith is based on rationality, and rationality and reason is the foundation of religious knowledge and not the wahi. So yeah, that just it's hard to wrap your head around it.
So the way I understand that is that you need some type of logic to trust the Prophet ﷺ. And once that reasoning is laid out, then you can follow blindly the Prophet. That's how I understand it. Like you have to, it's not that you put reason above everything, but you need to build trust. You need a logical pathway to gain that trust.
Yes, that's what it is. Basically, it's like some form of rationality is a presupposition to be able to have like 100% faith in anything, right? So I can prove Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rationally, hence I will be able to, that's what he's saying. I'm trying to just paraphrase it. So after that, whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran is acceptable for me, whether I make sense of it or not, right? So rationality is sort of the presupposition, it's a prerequisite for faith. That's what he's claiming.
Okay.
As what most Mu'tazila do.
True. Fatima, your hand was raised and then disappeared. Same for Enas.
I don't know. It's just I'm still confused about the thought that I just got that when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam shared about his journey, the Miraj, and when people told Abu Bakr, I think initially he said that it's not possible, but then he asked who said it, and he was told that Muhammad said it, and he said that if he has said it, then it has to be absolutely true, because he had that faith and trust in him that was established already due to his truthfulness. And so yeah, if he used his logic initially, he said it's not possible, but then based on that trust and the truthfulness of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he showed his complete acceptance to the narration.
Yes, and I believe Abu Bakr knew that the Prophet ﷺ since a young age, even before prophethood, to the point where when he heard that a prophet came, and he heard that it was Muhammad ﷺ that was the prophet, he said, of course, that's the best person I know. It has to be him. It cannot be anyone else. Like he already had trust established even before prophethood. But I guess that's what the authors tries to argue. Like, you need something rational to build that trust. You need some logic to build that trust in the first place. Do you have other comments on that text, or should I move on? If I move on, it will be because there's not much time left. We won't go through all the text. It doesn't matter. At least we'll discuss a few.
I really want to get to Ibn Arabi.
Okay. I guess we'll have to wait the next the next session, inshallah. But the next one is on Ghazālī, on evaluation of different approaches on the relationship between reason and revelation. And here Ghazālī describes 5 categories. The 2 extremes, one that will use revelation only and dismiss reason, or dismiss philosophy, or the intellect, the rational intellect. Then it's opposite, where you just base your judgment on rationality and will dismiss revelation. Then you come a bit closer to the middle ground, where you'll still take into account, you still upheld revelation, and you still take into account rationality, intellect, but not that much. If you have to choose between the two, you'll give precedence to revelation. And then on the other side, if you have a conflict, you still believe in that both may be useful, but you will put rationality higher than revelation. And then you have the middle ground, where you try to make them coincide entirely. So he's trying to describe the 5 position, and he says the middle one is the best. That's what you should aim for. That's what you should hope for, but it's not always easy. That's what he says. Do you agree with that summary? Or do you see something else through the text of Ghazālī?
Sorry, can I ask what page you're looking at?
51.
Okay.
You've read the text.
The whole thing, every word.
Like my book.
I should look at page 50.
And for me, it's always funny how direct they are. And Ghazālī mentioned that, I forgot where it is, but he says, if you claim that the Prophet lied, you should be beheaded. It's like without argument. That's it. Bella, go ahead.
So I think that so far this was the most balanced approach to be able to combine revelation and wahi, as opposed to the previous guide that we studied. I was like, was clearly more in favor of reason as compared to wahi. And of course, the solution that Imam Ghazālī is providing as to reconcile between the two. And I really liked in the text the ayat that he brought to support his reasoning. So, for example, the first argument that he brings, he quotes Quran وَمَا أُوتِيتُم مِّنَ الْعِلْمِ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا, Surah Bani Israel, that you have been given very little knowledge, so you should not claim that you can know everything. And but also at the same time that there is a conclusive reason, you shouldn't be rejecting it. Yeah, and also, this is sort of the fact, the third recommendation that he's giving, that any particular interpretation is the right interpretation. So I think most of us, when we are trained in a certain school of thought, it's very hard for us. Like personally, I've been a very hardcore. Okay, I shouldn't be saying in the recording. I have been a very hardcore something for a very long time, and it didn't allow me the way I was trained in religion, like all my madrasa education, that we are on the Sirat al-Mustaqim, right? And everyone else who's saying anything else is deviated. It took me a lot of internal work to be able to have a conversation with other people in the first place, right? The religious people or religious mindset, because I was so Quran, Sunnah, and full stop. So we are on the right path. And it takes a lot for us to be able to look into other interpretations as well and keep the possibility open that they can be some khair in what the other person is saying as well. Given the Quran, itself invites you to have a conversation with the non-Muslims. تعالوا إلى كلمة سواء بيننا وبينكم. So yeah, I think that the third point is especially important for people like me who have been like very headstrong in holding on to what I thought was right.
Okay, but I would also argue that the assumption that revelation should agree with reason here is not justified. Like, he doesn't give any justification for it. I would agree with it because for me it would be logic, but that's the way I was framed or formed. But for example, I know some Christian who would say, no, you don't need agreement. On the contrary, God's revelations contradicts what you see in the modern world, like the way you understand the modern world. And that contradiction shows that God is all-powerful. So they will use the contradiction to justify a belief in that type of God, in a specific type of belief to God. Go ahead, Bella.
So I agree with what you're saying, but probably this is the different way of reading the same text. How I am looking at it is that you should try your best to reconcile between the reason and revelation. It is not necessarily that reason is always in reconciliation with revelation. There's a difference between the two. One is saying that reason is always in line with revelation. And the other thing is that you should try your best to reconcile reason and revelation. So I'm reading it as the latter.
I see. But then I'm still curious. So, again, I would agree with it, but for you, what's the rationale behind to make them coincide?
So for every matter is going to be different. There's like rationality should be in obedience to the reason. That should be our maximum. But apparently there can be incidences where there is not, but then we should blame rationality, not the revelation.
Okay. Amina, please go ahead. You're muted. You have to unmute.
Okay, sorry. I don't know why it made me laugh. Okay, I know I came. I know I came in late into the conversation, but it's really interesting what you guys are saying and what I've read of the text as well. But sorry, Adrian.
Beware, it's recorded.
I'm sorry?
Beware, it is recorded.
Oh, right. Okay. So it's really interesting what you guys are saying, and these interrogations that you have about the relationship between reason and revelation. And I'm reminded of the scene that happens in the scene that happens in some celestial realm, and Allah records this scene in Surah Al-Baqarah, right? And it's this conversation that he has between the angels and himself. And in this conversation, he tells the angels, I'm going to create this creation on earth, right? And the angels, they had a view of history, perhaps, and they said, God, why are you doing this? Are you going to put on earth this blood spilling creature, right? So they had a sense of the past, some historical knowledge, okay? They didn't have a sense of the future. So God said to them, you don't know what I know, okay? So he says to them, you don't know what I know, which is like, I would say, a principle in what we should center, I think, in debates on the relationship between reason and revelation. The first principle would be that we don't know what إِنِّي أَعْلَمُ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. I know what you do not know. Okay, but still, there's a really interesting thing that happens here in this conversation. or in the scene is like there's a kind of divine pedagogy that is laid out. So Allah, what he does is he goes and teaches Adam alayhi salam, okay, science, whatever Asma refers to. And then he comes back and he shows the angels, or he has Adam alayhi salam do this knowledge performance, right? So he could have left it there. He could have said, angels, believe me, that's it. You just have to believe. Belief should be unconditional, without reason. But no, he had Adam alayhi salam perform his knowledge to the angels. And in this demand to perform his knowledge, Allah is essentially saying, well, you're allowed to rationally arrive at what I'm telling you to accept, which is, Inni a'lamu ma la ta'lamun. But he's still allowing us to
should.
Well, this is a divine pedagogy. You interpret this scene described in Surah Al-Baqarah as you wish, okay? But the point is that there's something being transmitted to us here about Allah's pedagogy, the way he's teaching us, which is one, he says, accept me as having this authority, but at the same time, I'm going to show you that I have authority. And that's where the reason comes in. And that's where he's even saying, it's okay to use your reason to arrive at this yaqeen, arrive at the yaqeen in what I'm telling you to believe in.
Inas, go ahead.
So I think the debate, which is kind of like the debate, it's about when should we use the yaqeen and when should we use the reason. Like the debate that we can see between different divisions of all Muslims, that you can see some of them, they are saying, no, you have to follow yaqeen all the time. Some of them, they are saying, no, you have to use some yaqeen and some reasons. And others, they are saying, no, you have to follow reason all the time.
By yaqeen, do you mean revelation?
Yaqeen, it's like belief and revelation, like to believe,
right,
without asking questions, because you will not be able to understand it.
All right, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. So, like sometimes you would say like believe, like let's call it believe without asking, because you will not be able to understand. So as Sister Amina, she said like the al-Malaika or the angels, they were like inni a'lamu ma la ta'lamun. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't tell them. Maybe they don't have the ability to understand what he wants to tell them. Sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us like some information in a way which is not clear or not fully explained, because we will not be able to understand. We will not be able to use the reasons. We have limited mental abilities that will not support us to understand what he's showing us. And I think that's the same, and that's what I believe, yani, that's the same for the angels. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for a reason, he didn't tell them. Allah knows it. So sometimes the debate is coming from, when should I know? Like I have to believe without asking, especially for creed and aqidah, and social relationships, and also for when should I use the reason? When should I say, yeah, no, at the spot, like my religion, it's giving me the chance to think, it's giving me the chance to debate, it's giving me the chance to discuss it, and to find why it's happening in this way, why I cannot change it, why I have to follow it. You know, sometimes some scholars, they are telling you that's a command from Allah, but actually it's not a command from Allah. It's from them. You know, and they are trying to tell you, no, it's from Allah. But wait, yeah, I know, like I like, as far as I know, my knowledge is limited, but for you have more knowledge, but it doesn't mean that you have the authority to command me to do what you want. So in that case, like for sure I have to use reasons, like without like rationality, I will not be able to debate him, I will not be able to tell him. Like I believe that Christians at some time, they followed their monks and this stuff. They followed them without asking, which is forbidden. Like you have to have your own point of view, but also, as we said, like I said it before, that the Jews, they were asking for everything, literally for everything, and they were debating for everything. So we cannot be like those, and we cannot be like those. But where should we go, and how to know this should be like a pure belief, and this should be like pure reason, and when should I mix both of them?
I mean, I'm also conscious of the time, so we'll have
Yeah.
to wrap up soon.
Okay, yeah, and you have to go as well. Well, that's a really good question. Like, where is the limit then of where belief starts and ends, and where reason ends, or where reason should be contained? And I think if we go back to the same scene in Surah Al-Baqarah, this exchange between Allah and the angels, the angels, they say something which is La ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana. We have no knowledge except that which you have taught us. And so I think what the angels are teaching us is that there's a kind of humility here that is necessary if you're still going to question God, because at the end they still question God. They didn't do it with arrogance in the way Iblis did, right? And they didn't approach God with arrogance. They approached God with humility. And the proof of their humility is inni a'lamu ma la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana. So it almost seems like rationality then it's still spiritual. It's a form of ibadah, in the sense that you approach the world, and you approach your faith, and you approach understanding with reason, and then still grounded by this limitation, this humility, that you won't know everything, you can't know everything, and at the end, inni a'lamu ma la ta'lamun, Allah knows everything and you cannot know it. So it's necessarily grounded by this spiritual, it's necessarily sort of limited by this spiritual humility.
And if I may just add, if I compare this situation to the one with Iblis who refused to prostrate, he questioned, he was arrogant, and Allah didn't justify his punishment. He justified it for the angels. He responded to the angels. He didn't have to, but he did it. With Iblis, he didn't. And maybe Iblis's arrogance didn't allow him to even understand the reasoning behind, the rationale behind.
Yeah, Iblis definitely didn't come with the approach that maybe I'm not right, and maybe I don't know. He said to God, I am this and Adam is that, right? He said it as a matter of fact, right? Instead of the angels who asked the question. They asked a question, right? They framed it as curiosity. They're curious and they're pursuing it, whereas Iblis, he stated it as a matter of fact, as if he knew better than Allah, right?
True. SubhanAllah. Again, I'm conscious of the time. I suggest we can meet again for the rest of the text. Then, if you all agree, the question is when? During Ramadan or after Ramadan? What about at the end of March, after Ramadan, the week maybe after Ramadan?
Perhaps you can create a poll on the group.
All right, I'll do. But do you all agree to continue discussing this text next time, inshallah? Ramadan should be off, I agree. Yes. I prefer to keep Ramadan for other things. But Inshallah. But yeah, Jazakallah khairan again. Sorry for wrapping up this quickly, but I'm conscious of the time. I wanted to thank you again all for joining, and hopefully we'll resume, inshallah, soon. I wish you all a blessed Ramadan. May Allah help us, allow us to witness Ramadan and to benefit from it. وجزاك خيرا والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون السلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.